So if you're anything like, well, most people running a business today, you've probably noticed that AI is just being aggressively shoved into literally every single software tool you use.
Oh, absolutely. It's everywhere.
Right. And, as someone who actively wants to stay ahead of the curve, you're probably looking at all these new features and wondering, like, how much of this actually works?
Yeah, that's the big question. We're totally past that initial novelty phase, right? The honeymoon is over.
Exactly. Like, millions of Shopify merchants are logging in today, clicking this little purple sparkle icon, and just assuming it's, I don't know, doing their job for them.
Which is a massive assumption.
It is. They think it's writing perfect copy, doing their taxes, optimizing SEO. But what if that same button is, actively hallucinating fake data or silently tanking their Google rankings?
That is the high-stakes reality we're in right now, especially when your actual revenue is on the line.
Yeah, which brings us to today's source material. It's this incredibly detailed, like 19-minute read that was published on July 10th, 2026. And it's called Shopify AI Tools: What Sidekick and Magic Actually Do.
It's a really thorough breakdown.
It really is. And the mission for this deep dive is to basically cut through all that marketing hype.
Yeah.
We want to give you the absolute truth about Shopify's built-in AI.
Yeah, what it actually excels at.
And where it becomes an active liability, right?
Yeah.
Plus, figuring out when you actually just need to pull out your credit card and buy a third-party app. Okay, let's unpack this. I am super excited to finally get a no BS look at a tool that people use every single day.
Me too. And the source actually starts by pointing out that most people don't even have the basic vocabulary, right? Like, before we even judge the tech, we have to untangle the jargon.
Oh, for sure. I see people mixing this up online all the time.
Right. There's this massive confusion between two totally distinct terms, Shopify Magic and Sidekick.
Yeah, they are not the same thing.
Not at all. Shopify Magic is, well, it's not just a single button. It's actually the umbrella name, like the parent category, for the entire suite of free AI features.
So it's just scattered all across the admin dashboard.
Exactly. If you're in the blog editor or, writing a product description and you see that little inline button to generate text or an image, that is Shopify Magic.
Got it. So if Magic is the whole suite, what is Sidekick then?
So Sidekick is just one specific component inside that suite. It's the conversational assistant. You click the little purple glasses icon, you type a request in plain English, and it talks back or does a task for you.
Okay, so it's kind of like Magic is the entire smart home system, right? Like wired into the walls, controlling the lights and the thermostat. But Sidekick is just the smart speaker sitting on the kitchen counter that you actually talk to.
That is a perfect analogy. Yeah. They aren't competing products. One just lives inside the other.
Wait, I definitely read on some tech blog that Magic was just renamed to Sidekick. You saying that's wrong?
It is entirely wrong, yeah. But, your confusion is totally justified.
Why? Did Shopify mess that up?
Well, the source points out exactly why everyone thinks this. If you type the marketing URL, shopify.com/magic, into your browser right now, it automatically redirects you to the Sidekick page.
Oh, wow. So they're literally causing the confusion themselves.
Exactly. That single marketing redirect has just fueled so much confusion. But if you dig into their actual Help Center docs, they still very clearly separate Magic as the suite and Sidekick as the chat assistant.
That is such a classic tech marketing move, just intentionally blurring the lines to push the flashy new chat interface.
Totally. But understanding that distinction is really crucial for actually using the dashboard.
Right. So now that we've established a layout of the smart home, how do we know which rooms are safe to walk into without the floor completely caving in? That brings us to the core thesis of our source material.
Yeah, and the source argues that the ultimate test for trusting Shopify's AI isn't that old cliche of, structured versus creative tasks. It's way more practical than that.
The golden rule here is basically, does the task produce a verifiable artifact that you can inspect before you apply it?
What's fascinating here is the underlying philosophy of that rule. When you ask the AI to do mechanical assembly.
Like putting together a puzzle.
Exactly. If you have the picture on the box, you can easily check its work, right? You just look at the final puzzle and see if the pieces fit. But when you ask it to exercise actual judgment, it just fails.
Because generic AI models don't have taste.
Right. They lack any context about your specific brand's history or your tone or your aesthetic.
Oh, wait, isn't the whole point of AI that's supposed to do all that creative heavy lifting for you? Why does the output being verifiable matter so much? Like
Right.
if I tell it to write a great product description, shouldn't just know what great means from its training data?
The problem is that great is incredibly subjective. It's completely contextual to your target audience. So when you ask a generic model for a description, you're just getting like a raw statistical regurgitation.
So it's just guessing the most likely next word.
Exactly. You can't verify if it's actually great without reading every single word, fact-checking it, and basically rewriting the whole thing to match your brand voice anyway.
Right, so the output isn't a verifiable artifact. It's just a messy first draft that creates more manual labor.
Spot on, but when the task has a definitive logical answer, the whole mechanism changes.
Which is why, to answer why that verifiability matters, we really need to look at what happens when the AI is given clear, structured rules. Because the results there are actually pretty staggering.
Oh, absolutely. This is where Sidekick works flawlessly, like an assembly line.
Right, so where does it shine the most?
The biggest areas are Shopify QL analytics queries, building customer segments, constructing flow automations, and generating complex discount codes.
Those analytics queries are a huge deal
Yeah.
because Shopify QL is their own proprietary query language, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, most merchants are not database engineers.
Exactly. They have no idea how to join tables or write syntax. But with Sidekick, you just type, show me repeat customers from Germany who bought in the last 90 days.
And it just does it.
Instantly, Sidekick translates your plain English into perfect Shopify QL, runs it against your database, and hands you the result.
That's wild. And you don't even need to know how the query was coded. You just look at the list of names and verify, yeah, these are my repeat German buyers.
Exactly. It is instantly verifiable.
And setting up discount logic by hand is notoriously terrible. Like setting the discount tiers, the date windows, exclusions, minimum purchase amounts.
It's so tedious, but Sidekick just builds it in seconds.
Yeah.
And it's making a massive impact. The source actually pulled this really fascinating data point from Harley Finkelstein.
The president of Shopify, right?
Right. From their Q1 2026 earnings call. He said that nearly half of all Shopify flows generated in that first quarter were built using Sidekick.
Wow, half.
Yeah. And the weekly active shops using it are up roughly 4 times year over year.
That is insane growth. It's honestly like having a highly efficient paralegal on staff.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, like you don't need to know the legal jargon, or in this case, the JSON payload structures. You just tell the paralegal your goal. They draft the complex contract, and you just read it over to make sure it makes sense before you sign it.
Because automations and discounts are so fiddly, right? One wrong parameter in a discount rule, and you could accidentally give away your entire inventory for free.
Oh, man. Yeah, that happens all the time.
So the AI succeeds here because it presents that completed artifact like the draft discount code for your review before it gets switched on. You are still the final gatekeeper.
So it's a genius paralegal for logic and rules. But what happens when you ask that same paralegal to write a heartfelt creative marketing campaign?
Spoiler alert, it gets incredibly messy.
Yeah. Open-ended generation just completely falls apart. It introduces this massive hallucination hazard.
For sure. The failure modes in creative generation mostly hit product descriptions, blog posts, and custom theme blocks. And the first big issue the source flags is the generic voice problem.
Right, because the AI basically has amnesia. Shopify Magic has zero memory of your brand between requests, right?
None. It doesn't save a style profile or anything. So if you're writing product descriptions, Magic gives you like 2 tiny input fields and a basic tone selector.
And then it just forgets all those instructions the second you move to the next product page.
Literally the second you click away. Unless you are painstakingly pasting this massive block of brand guidelines into the prompt every single time you generate a paragraph.
Which nobody has time for.
Exactly. So it just defaults to this incredibly flat, generic phrasing. You end up sounding exactly like every other competitor in your niche who's using the same model.
But blandness is honestly the least of your worries. The real tangible danger is confident invention.
The hallucination.
Yes. The source has this wild, specific cautionary tale about a merchant who used AI for a bulk description job.
Oh yeah, this story is crazy. The merchant fed the AI static data with strict, fixed rules about their product's technical specs.
And the AI just completely ignored those guardrails.
Completely ignored them. It confidently hallucinated fake product reference codes that literally did not exist in the company's catalog.
Wow.
It gets worse. It even inserted negative SEO keywords that the merchant explicitly forbade it to use and completely blew past the requested character limits.
And here's where it gets really interesting. When that merchant actually complained to Shopify support, They openly admitted there is literally no setting to stop the AI from hallucinating data.
Right. It operates as a total black box and just does whatever it wants, which introduces severe SEO ramifications.
Oh, massively.
If you let an unconstrained AI mass generate hundreds of product pages with hallucinated specs, you are playing a very dangerous game with Google.
Yeah, the source actually quotes Google Search Central's policy on this. It says, using automation, including AI, to generate content with the primary purpose of manipulating ranking is a direct spam violation.
But there is a very fine technical line there regarding how Google actually evaluates that content.
Right, so let me push back on this for a second. Because if you read further into Google's guidance, they explicitly say that AI content is not penalized simply for being generated by AI.
Right, they don't have some magical AI watermark detector.
Exactly. As long as the content satisfies EEAT, meaning experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, Google says it's technically fine. So, I mean, why can't I just use Shopify to bulk generate 1,000 descriptions, satisfy the algorithm with sheer volume, and maybe tweak a few later?
Because volume without information gain is exactly what Google's EEAT algorithms are trained to destroy.
How so?
Google evaluates content using vector embeddings. They mathematically map the semantic meaning of your text. So if you bulk generate 1,000 descriptions using Shopify's default AI, those descriptions will mathematically map to the exact same semantic vectors as the generic data the model was trained on.
So it's basically duplicate content in Google's eyes.
Basically, yeah. They offer zero new information, zero unique expertise. They instantly fail the helpful content test.
Ah, so it isn't punishing the AI itself. It's punishing the lack of original thought.
Precisely. And the irony here, which the source points out, is that Shopify actually lacks a native bulk description tool.
Wait, really? It won't let you just check a box, select all, and run the AI over your entire catalog?
Nope. Magic does not support bulk generation out of the box. You're forced to do it one by one.
That sounds incredibly frustrating.
It is, but the source notes that this missing feature is actually accidentally saving merchants from themselves.
Oh, because it forces friction.
Yes. By forcing manual generation, it stops users from nuking their own SEO by publishing hundreds of identical hallucinated pages all in a single click.
That's wild. The inconvenience is literally a safety rail.
Okay, so we definitely can't trust it to be creative, and we can't trust it with static product data. But, I mean, surely we can trust it to do basic math and tell us concrete facts about our own store's configuration, right? You would think so, but actually that assumption leads merchants right into a massive analytics trap.
Okay, let's talk about that.
To survive this trap, you really have to understand the architectural difference between generating a query and just answering a question in a chat interface.
Right. Because earlier we established that if you ask Sidekick to build a report like, show me German buyers,
Yeah.
it writes the query, you run it, and the list is perfectly accurate.
Exactly. But if you just ask it a plain language question directly in the chat window, like, hey, Sidekick, how much sales tax do I owe in Oregon this quarter?
Or like, what are my market's limits on my current plan?
Right. When you do that, things go entirely off the rails. It will answer you conversationally, and it will very often be confidently wrong.
Because large language models just predict the next most likely word. Right. They aren't actually doing real-time policy lookups.
Exactly. Unless they are specifically engineered to trigger an external calculator tool, they don't do math. And Sidekick rarely admits when it doesn't know something.
It's exactly like a toxic people pleaser.
Yes.
No, seriously. It's like that guy at a dinner party who would rather confidently make up a highly specific statistic about Oregon tax law on the spot than just admit to the group that he doesn't know the answer.
That is a perfect description. It sounds so precise and helpful that you just inherently believe it, but the underlying data is totally fabricated.
Which is why the source gives this fantastic golden rule for dealing with Sidekick's analytics. Trust the query, verify the claim.
It really is a brilliant framework. If the AI builds a report, rely on the hard data inside that generated report.
But if it simply states a number in the chat conversation?
Then you absolutely must treat that text as a hallucinated draft answer. You have to verify that figure against your own back-end financial reports or official Shopify documentation before you make any decisions based on it.
Okay, so with all these severe caveats, I mean, we've got hallucinations, generic voice, fake dinner party statistics, it really begs the question. Are we paying a massive premium for a tool that requires this much intensive babysitting?
Well, let's dive into the actual price tag, and more importantly, the hidden mechanisms in the fine print.
Because there's always fine print.
Always. The good news is that both Shopify Magic and Sidekick are completely free on all Shopify plans.
Okay, that's surprisingly good.
Mm.
No weird AI add-on fee.
Nope. No artificial line item inflating your bill. Even media and image generation, which is typically restricted to the basic plan and higher, is currently available for free across all plans, at least as of the time the source was published.
Okay, but where's the catch?
The catch is what the source calls the honest gap. Shopify publishes absolutely zero per plan AI limits.
What do you mean, like no quotas?
None. There is no feature table comparing API limits on basic versus advanced versus plus. They offer zero transparency on what actually happens when you hit a usage cap.
This raises an important question, though, right? Because free with hidden limits is just a classic tech strategy.
Exactly. Compute power is incredibly expensive. During high server loads, platforms have to throttle users to maintain stability.
But because Shopify doesn't publish those limits, you only discover the ceiling by violently hitting your head against it.
Right. You might be in the middle of a massive Black Friday product launch and suddenly your requests just start timing out. Or the AI silently caps your max output tokens and returns half-finished paragraphs.
Because the server is actively degrading model parameters to save compute.
Yep. You are flying totally blind during your most critical operational moment.
That is terrifying. And beyond those physical compute limits, we have to talk about data privacy.
Yeah, the source confirms that Shopify does not use your specific store data, like your proprietary catalog or purchase history, to train global AI models for your competitors.
Okay, that is a huge relief for anyone worried about, like, industrial espionage via AI.
It is. However, there is no explicit opt-out toggle to stop Shopify from using your store data to personalize your own results within your own admin dashboard.
Wait, really? So that if there's no opt-out for internal data personalization, shouldn't businesses with strict data governance be, like, highly hesitant to wire their entire operation into Sidekick?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I'm thinking about health brands dealing with medical purchase history or stores handling super sensitive client info.
They must be extremely cautious. When data is pooled for personalization, even internally, it creates a huge surface area for compliance breaches if employee permissions aren't perfectly siloed.
Right. So data governance is a hard requirement for your business. The source basically says you need to deeply review Shopify's data ingestion architecture before using this stuff.
Yes. And we also have to mention the international store warning.
Oh, right. If you sell outside the U.S., localization is pretty rough, isn't it?
It is. As of the summer 2025 edition, Sidekick officially supports roughly 20 languages, but practitioners are reporting really frustrating architectural glitches.
Like what?
Well, on longer bulk jobs, the AI has this well-documented tendency to simply revert back to English right in the middle of a task.
Oh, you're kidding. So it just loses its context window for the target language.
Yeah, forcing you to manually retranslate everything. And even when it manages to stay in the target language, it frequently uses weirdly US-centric phrasing and idioms.
Which probably sounds completely unnatural to local consumers in European or Asian markets.
Completely unnatural.
So because of these glaring blind spots, the hidden usage limits, the lack of bulk tools, the language glitches, there comes a very clear point where the free, built-in stuff just won't cut it anymore.
Exactly.
So when is it actually time to abandon the free tools and upgrade?
The source gives a very clean rule of thumb for this. You upgrade when the job involves bulk processing, when it is brand critical, or when it requires analyzing data that lives outside of Shopify's native ecosystem.
Okay, let's run through those. First, bulk processing. As we said, Shopify Magic intentionally does not do bulk descriptions.
Right. So if you're launching, say, 500 new SKUs for a seasonal drop, you need a specialized third-party app engineered for bulk generation with actual SEO guardrails built in.
Makes sense. Second is brand critical control. Magic gives you a tiny tone selector and then completely forgets your brand the moment you click away.
Right, so if you need deep, consistent control over your brand voice, you really need to reach for a dedicated tool. The source mentions tools like Describely, which let you build complex style repositories.
So it forces the AI to remember your brand guidelines across every single generation.
Exactly, and the same logic applies to long-form articles. Magic's output is just too thin and generic compared to a dedicated writing model that you can heavily prompt.
Finally, data outside Shopify. This seems like the biggest architectural limitation. Sidekick is completely blind to anything outside its own walled garden, right?
Completely blind. It cannot read your Klaviyo email flows, it cannot see your Gorgias or Zendesk support tickets, and it definitely cannot pull data from your external Google Sheets.
So basically, if I need the AI to talk to my email marketing platform or synthesize trends from my customer help desk tickets, Sidekick is completely useless to me.
Built-in AI is amazing for everyday structured tasks natively inside your Shopify admin. But the minute you need to connect disparate software ecosystems or do heavy cross-platform creative lifting, you have to go to the App Store. Sidekick just cannot bridge those gaps.
Wow. Okay, so we've mapped the smart home. We know exactly where the floorboards are solid and where you're going to fall straight through the ceiling into the living room.
It really just requires a fundamental shift in how you view the tool. It's an assistant, it's not an autonomous manager.
So what does this all mean? Let's recap the bottom line of this conversation. Shopify's AI suite is incredibly powerful, but it is heavily polarized in its utility.
Very polarized.
It is phenomenal for structured logic. If you need automations, segments, or complex discounts, it will literally save you hours. But it requires intense, paranoid human supervision for any open-ended creative task.
The ultimate habit the source recommends, like the one non-negotiable workflow you have to adopt, is to treat every single creative output and every chatted statistic as a highly suspect first draft.
Trust the query. Verify the claim. Read everything.
Yeah.
Never click Save or Publish without putting your own human eyes on it to verify the artifact.
Exactly.
But before we wrap up, there is one detail from the source material that has really stuck with me, and it touches on the broader mechanics of platform responsibility.
Oh, the bulk generation thing.
Yeah. We talked about how Shopify deliberately lacks a native bulk description tool, and how that inconveniently, yet effectively, protects merchants from massive Google SEO penalties.
Right.
But Shopify certainly does not block you from going to their app store and installing a third-party app to do exactly that same dangerous bulk generation.
It creates a really fascinating philosophical dilemma for the modern web. In this increasingly AI-driven landscape, platforms like Shopify are providing incredibly powerful raw infrastructure, but they are deliberately stepping back from providing the ultimate guardrails.
They just leave the side door wide open.
Exactly. So where does the ultimate responsibility for a brand's digital footprint actually lie? Are these platforms subtly protecting us from ourselves by omitting dangerous native features, or are they simply washing their hands of the problem and legally passing the liability down the chain to the app developers and the merchants?
That is a heavy thought to leave on. As you go about your day, try applying that verifiable artifact test to whatever AI tools you're using in your own daily workflows. When the AI hands you a result, can you actually verify the mechanical work, or are you just blindly trusting its generic judgment? Think about it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.